Good evening, sports fans. Curious Formula here, bringing you a new video that tells you the 5 reasons why Donald Trump will never be elected president again. This is a longer version of my most watched TikTok video with the same name that now has close to 17,000 views. Can you say it with me? 17,000 views. I gotta thank you all. So let's get into it with reason number 1. Donald Trump announced way too early. President Trump announced his campaign for a non-consecutive second presidential term in a speech at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida on November 15, 2022. That's almost a full 2 years before the general election in 2024. And it was right after his party barely won control of the House of Representatives and narrowly lost the Senate, mainly due to the defeat of hand-picked Trump candidates that were horrible, like Herschel Walker. Remember that moron? Jeez. Do you know what 2 years of continued scrutiny will and has done to the most negatively scrutinized candidate in American political history? Trump has a way of just saying really ridiculous things on day 1, then denying he said it on day 2, and then adding to the lie, fake fact, or in their conspiracy theory he just saw or heard that he said he never said on day 3. I digress. But who can forget his constant oversimplification for the chief seats about, well, virtually everything? How was that call to the Georgia director of the Board of Elections looking for more votes? It was great, best phone call ever. Stuff like that was cute and funny in 2016. It was cringeworthy in 2020, and in 2024, I'm afraid it's actually an act that has gone stale, and even his supporters snicker about it. And he just volunteered for 2 whole years of growing the snickers into straight up ridicule, which leads me to reason number 2. Independents. Independents are never, ever voting for him again. Trump won in 2016 because of independent voters. Trump beat Clinton with independents 46% to 42%. The margin of victory, really, as both received about 90% of their respective party support. And they have not voted for him or Trump-endorsed candidates since then. Not in 2018, not in 2020, and they will not in 2024. In 2018, Trump's candidates lost independents even as they won in red states. So while he crowed about wins in Ohio and Florida that year, he failed to acknowledge losses for Republicans in Colorado and Nevada and Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, which we now know not only are purple to blue states, but these are the states that he cannot fail to win if he is to change the result of 2020 and 2024. In a March 2023 NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll, a survey of more than 1,300 adults found that despite the love for him among Republicans, quote, Trump remains highly disliked, continues to struggle mightily with independents, and 6 in 10 don't want him to be president again. I know. Trump supporters will say that those are liberal polls. I mean, it's NPR, right? But they are consistent with almost all polling up to this point, even from Fox. And why are independents not ever coming back to Trump? Well, that brings us to reason number 3. Indictments. Lord of mercy. Where did we begin with all the indictments, the investigations, the impeachments, and now actual convictions? Just think about this list. 1. Trump was indicted by a federal grand jury for retaining classified government documents and obstruction of justice. Number 2. Investigation of Trump's role and involvement surrounding his loss in the 2020 presidential election that culminated in his supporters' deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. You know, a date and an action that will live in infamy. Number 3, how about this? An investigation of whether Trump and others acted illegally to try to overturn his defeat in Georgia's 2020 presidential vote. So like 28 people who have taken plea deals to testify in that case. Next, how about becoming the first U.S. president, past or present, to face criminal charges when a New York grand jury indicted him for allegedly falsifying business records in connection with the hush money payment made to a porn star before the 2016 presidential election. Yeah, pretty bad stuff. How about this one? A federal grand jury in Manhattan ordering Trump to pay writer E.G. Carroll $5 million in damages after finding him liable for sexually abusing her in the 1990s and then defaming her by lying about it in 2022. How about this one? New York Attorney General sued Trump and his family business, the Trump Organization, last September for fraud. It gets even better. The Justice Department, yes, the much maligned Justice Department by Republicans, and financial regulators are investigating Special Purpose Acquisition Company, Digital World Acquisition Corp., October 2021's deal with Trump's social media firm, Truth Social. And there are lots of others from the past, from Trump University to investigating his daughter's deal with China for her product line, clothing line, etc., while he was in office. I've said it for a long time here and other platforms. Republicans want the investigations to do for them what they cannot do on their own for fear of losing the Trump base.
Because you know I'm all about that bass, no trouble.
That quite simply is take him out of the running for president by at least some of these convictions, barring him from either seeking the presidency or being able to serve if he gets elected. Or the alternative may be forcing him to quit, but I will come back to that one. So now this takes me to number 4. Too many candidates. I know. Trump supporters will say lots of candidates running is good for Trump and will assure him a victory, just like when he beat the field in 2016 during the GOP primaries. But you should all know that Trump never received over 50% in his primary wins early on. He just had a real hardcore 20 to 30% in a fractured race at GOP primaries or winner take all, like the Democrats, which is proportional in its delegate selection and awarding. And so far, the announced GOP candidates are the following. So you have Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Tim Scott, former VP Mike Pence, former Governor Chris Christie, former Governor UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, Ryan Binkley, Doug Burgum, a radio host Larry Elder, Congressman Will Hurd, former Governor Asa Hutchinson, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, Perry Johnson, Mayor Francis Suarez, and maybe even Mike Rogers. Now, to my ABT crowd, anybody but Trump, don't worry. Most of these folks will not really make it past the summer and never even make it to caucus night in Iowa next winter. A combination of no money, no traction, and no message that resonates is going to sink most of these folks before they even get out of the gate. So that list of 20 is going to shrink pretty quickly. But there is a catch here for both the pro-Trumpers and the ABTs, anybody but Trumpers. First, pro-Trumpers. Trump's continuing legal folly may not mean much to you right now, but GOP voters want to win against what they see is a senile old man in President Joe Biden. If Trump's issues seem like an albatross around that ability to win, enough voters may abandon him for a more winnable candidate, and the GOP may finally break the Trump trance, break that fever. And if that happens, look for a real race between Trump and maybe two others like Governor DeSantis or Senator Scott or Governor Christie and Haley or even Ramaswamy, who people see as a breath of fresh air. Candidates that may come off as something new to a party sick with the stench of Donald Trump. And don't forget that even if Donald Trump wins the nomination, and you heard it here first, there will be, I predict, a mainstream Republican candidate that will challenge him in the general election as an independent or maybe a no-labels party candidate that's going to provide an alternative for regular mainstream Republicans to vote for and take 2 to 3 vital points away from Trump in states he needs to win, like Ohio, Wisconsin, and Arizona, and Michigan, etc., and deliver a landslide win for Biden in the Electoral College. To my anybody but Trumpers, all of these candidates could stay in the race and repeat 2016 all over again. I know your worst fears and nightmares. Or worse, if one of these candidates can wrest the nomination from Trump, what will stop him from telling his supporters not to support the nominee of the Republican Party? Trump will just say, like he said about the 2020 election, that the nomination was stolen from him, and to teach the GOP a lesson, he's going to say, just stay at home. Don't vote for the Democratic crook or the Republican deep state supporting nominee that cheated him, and there go the American people. Hell, Donald Trump could even call for the creation of a third party, the MAGA party. And you don't think that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Carrie Lake or some of the more strident followers would not follow him out of the party? Think again. Which brings me to reason number 5A. Trump will not have his team from 2016 or 2020. And the list is long, includes family members crucial to his win in 2016 and governors thereafter, to be quite frank. And it really represents his own personal hires that he once claimed were brilliant. And then he castigated them as either stupid or incompetent or disloyal, part of the deep state, part of the swamp. And here are just a few of Team Trump that will not be a part of the 2024 campaign at any level of policy development or planning or campaigning. Rick Perry, John Bolton, Sue Gordon, Dan Coates, Alexander Acosta, James Mad Dog Mattis, Bill Barr, John Kelly, Kirstjen Nielsen, Bill Shine, Jeff Sessions, Nikki Haley, Scott Pruitt, H.R. McMasters, Rex Tillerson, Gary Cohn, Hope Hicks, Omarosa Newman, shout out to reality TV, Tom Price, Anthony Scaramucci, shout out to reality TV, Rich Priebus, Sean Spicer, and Ivanka Trump and Jared. Not going to be part of the campaign. It's people he relied upon and trusted to get him over the hump. And the real problem here is that most of these folks have expressed a real poor take of the former president, how he governs and how he deals with others. Others quit in disgrace for malfeasance or alleged misfeasance while serving. I don't know, maybe their deep state ties were in another part of the swamp, but I don't know. Still, others like Michael Flynn just went further into nutball land, and I digress. Last but not least, reason 5B. Biden's policies will start to be felt by all Americans in 2024. Now, President Biden, whether you like him or not,
Mr. President, thank you.
and while I agree with most of his agenda, I do have issues with his position regarding public education and his position on reparations and how extra dollars were given out to combat COVID, to name a few. The current president has been the most consequential president on passing and implementing big changes and ideas that past presidents over the last 50 years only spoke to. Now, here are a few. You're going to be surprised by some of them. One is Biden signed a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package that passed with 13 Republicans who voted with the Democrats in favor of the bill. And this package increases investment in roads and bridges and renovates ports and public transportation, expands broadband access, and replaces every lead pipe in the United States, among other initiatives. This is groundbreaking, once in a lifetime, that's being done in actuality right now. Second thing, Biden signed a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package in March 2021. That included up to $1,400 per person to financially struggling Americans. It extended unemployment support and provided billions of dollars to help schools and colleges and universities reopen. That's two things, major things. Again, lifetime changing things. Third, Biden put in place a $20 billion vaccination program to fight COVID. And while 1% of the US population was vaccinated when Biden came into office, 74% of Americans, that's 249 million Americans, have received at least one vaccine dose. That is exponential growth in government doing what government is supposed to do. The next thing Biden did was expand access to affordable health care for 5 million Americans. Again, increasing the amount of care that Obamacare started, and now he's actually increased even more, millions more. Under Joe Biden, unemployment dropped to 3.9%. Under Donald Trump, unemployment was 6.3%. And let's not forget that 6 million new jobs have been created already. That's in 3 years. Jobless claims are the lowest since 1969. Again, once in a lifetime kind of record. And the United States under Joe Biden is really no longer denying science, but it's really reclaiming its position as a respected global leader in world affairs. We're doing our part to champion the health of our planet, leading the way for other countries like China to have to follow, and getting our European allies back on our side again. He's earned the respect of those European allies, and he's really coordinating a measured response to Vladimir Putin's aggressive war in Ukraine, slowly giving arms, slowly giving support, and giving planes at the end of the year. And most of these initiatives and many more have not been felt yet by the electorate in the 2022 midterm elections, but they will be by November 2024. You can bet your bottom dollar that. And most American voters support these measures, as well as his administration's views on abortion and the green economy, which may throw some other new things into the mix when people consider who they're going to vote for. And let me just say this for the naysayers about Biden's job creation as a side note here, that it is somehow just like a lot of replacement of COVID jobs. Let me say this emphatically. Whoever is president gets the credit and the blame for job numbers, whether they had anything to do with it or not, and Biden's job numbers are way over what was lost during COVID. Let me give you an example of this for folks who don't believe me. Let's take black unemployment, for example. When from 2010 to 2018, Trump took credit for record low unemployment numbers, even though 89% of that reduction occurred under the Obama administration. But Trump was in office when the number got that low. And just like Trump took credit for record job growth from 2016 to 2020, he has to also take responsibility for record job losses due to the pandemic, whether it was his fault or not. And Biden gets the credit for creating more jobs in 2 years than the Trump administration did in 4. It is what it is. But let me know what you think. Bless your buddy by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Hit the bell to get alerts to new content, and check out my content on some of my other platforms that are listed below. Feel free to share, and as always, I want to leave you with a simple quote from George Orwell. In a time of deceit, Telling the truth is a revolutionary act. We need more revolutionary actors and acts. Stay curious.